Hello, everybody, and welcome to this hotel room. It is me, Stef Sanjati, and I am joined by
Katie Morton.
Yes.
I am a licensed therapist, and I have a mental health educational channel on YouTube. And I actually specialize in eating disorders and self-injury. That's what I do in my practice. That's what all my training has been in.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm here.
So I actually want to talk about eating disorders today. I've talked about this a few times before, and I'll link those videos in the description box, but let's just jump right into it.
Yeah,
okay?
Let's get into it.
My main big problem with eating disorders was more recent, where I began abusing laxatives. I guess that's a form of bulimia, right? But my history started way back when I was a kid. And it's kind of related to being trans.
I wondered about that when we said we were going to talk about this.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder how tied in.
We actually talked about a lot of trans stuff on Katie's channel, so you can go check that out if you're interested. I'll put a link to that and also a card. Go check it out. It's really cool. It's a great video. Where it started was when I started puberty and I began developing in ways I didn't like.
Yeah.
My shoulders got broader, my face got a bit thicker, my neck got thicker. You know, I was developing in a way that was
the opposite.
Masculine.
Yeah.
Or what I perceived to be masculine, and I was like, I didn't consciously know it, but I so desired to be smaller and have breasts and hips and whatever, and I didn't really know how to vocalize or verbalize that or how to explain that. That's where that began, and I was really bullied because not only was I developing in that way, which was normal, I was also an early bloomer, and I was a little bit chubby, and I was a little bit short, and I had acne, and blah 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 blah.
It's like one thing after the other, just uncomfortable.
Exactly. I was very, very, very uncomfortable. So when I began high school, I starved myself excessively. I was 30 or 40 pounds lighter than I am right now. It was bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was really bad. But what I noticed was when I was skinny, people were nice to me. But when I was bigger, people were not nice to me. So that really encouraged a lot of behavior for me getting older. Exactly. I actually had a boyfriend that told me that he couldn't go out with me because I was too fat.
What? Fuck that. Oh, can I cuss on here?
Yeah, you can, absolutely.
I was like, fuck that guy.
That's when I really began to...
I'm going to say,
I ate nothing. I'm not going to say what I did because that would encourage that behavior, and I don't want to do that.
I think an important thing, not mentioning numbers. I never mention numbers or anything because it's super triggering, but also because eating disorders really are just hurt.
Yeah.
And I always talk about them being coping skills for something else going on.
It does not have anything to do with food at all.
No, it doesn't.
It's never food.
We don't care about the food. It's actually about whatever it represents for us.
Yes.
Whether it's numb out, whether it's push people away, whether it's I'm so uncomfortable.
Acceptance or
all sorts of reasons that we use that.
And I think a lot of people have a fundamental misunderstanding. They're like, oh, why don't you just eat? Or why don't you just it's, fuel. And I'm at this point in my life talking about it as if, oh, food is fuel. I need this to that helps me at this point. But back then that would have just made me angry.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't about that. It wasn't about sustaining my body. It was about sustaining my social existence.
And who you felt that you were, and it was changing and you didn't like it. And
Absolutely.
They felt out of control. So what 100%. Kind of control? That was
exactly. So then, I at some point, I guess I don't know exactly what happened, but that relationship ended, and I just kind of balanced out a little bit. And it didn't really resurface until I realized I was trans, and I was always uncomfortable with the way my body was developing and changing and was, but it was then when I was conscious of it, and I was like, this is what exactly I don't like, and here's how I can change it. So then I wasn't really encouraged by somebody, but they kind of clued me in to this method where if I deprived my body of nutrition, it would begin to consume itself, and my muscles would shrink and atrophy. Atrophy.
But yeah.
And that was horrific. And that was when my adult problems began. And that was so originally.
That's a horrible person, by the way. They probably didn't mean.
I think they have a lot of their own pain.
Yes.
And I think they do something very similar. And I think they don't really, and they still don't really understand that it's a problem.
That it's an actual eating disorder.
Yeah. So I don't really blame them, but that was definitely a big trigger moment for sure. Absolutely.
Totally. Well, and just to be clear, an eating disorder becomes an eating disorder because I think a lot of people throw that word around and we don't really know what it means.
Okay.
And this is how I've talked about it on my channel. Diagnostically speaking, it's going to be different because there is anorexia, there's bulimia, and there's OSFED. It's essentially. It used to be NOS, not otherwise specified, which I think is a better way than OSFED stands for other specified eating or feeding disorders.
Interesting.
Way too long. Okay. Anyway, it's like the catch-all bucket for all other behaviors.
Okay.
But overall, with all that to say, that an eating disorder is an eating disorder when most of your brain space is filled with thoughts about food.
Yeah. Oh dear. That's what it was. It was when I was in the big heat of it, and let's just step back to what you just said when it comes to different categories of eating disorders. People can experience several in their life. When I was in high school, it was anorexia. When I was an adult, or more recently, it would have been bulimia, right?
Yes.
And I think there's a big resistance to actually saying they have an eating disorder too.
Yes.
And I had that. I was very much insistent. My mom would be really concerned and be like, what, like, please, like, you're doing this and it's harmful and I can see it. And I was just like, no, it's not. Like, what are you talking about? I don't have an eating disorder. I was very insistent that it was not a problem. And I didn't really understand it was a problem until my heartbeat became irregular and I could feel it through my chest and all my bones were sticking out. Like I had to physically be in danger to finally acknowledge that I had a problem. And a lot of people get there and they still don't acknowledge it.
I would say I've had patients who still don't acknowledge. And I think a lot of it has to do with stigma.
Yeah.
And society. Because eating disorders are manipulative motherfuckers.
Yeah.
They will tell you that you're not sick enough, that you're not thin enough, that you don't look a certain way, so therefore you don't have an eating disorder.
I've been there.
Because
That's
it has
exactly
this, like,
thought.
in your brain, which is already ill because it has a mental illness called an eating disorder
Right.
in it. It tells you, oh, this is what an eating disorder person looks like.
Right.
And then they like, nope, me, nope, not the same.
Right. And until you get to that extreme, and even if when you do get to that
it'll
extreme,
move.
right, the goalpost keeps shifting, for sure. Like a bad debate with yourself.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And you can never win. And so
No.
I think that's the first component. And then the second component that oftentimes, and I've heard this sadly from a lot of my viewers, is people will reach out for help when they struggle with binge eating disorder, which is another eating disorder to add on our list. And the doctors will be like, oh, you just need to go exercise and lose weight. You don't have an eating disorder. Because they're ignorant to the fact that eating disorders aren't all just
skinniness.
I just tell you an eating disorder was. If most of your brain space is filled up with thoughts about food.
Right. And that can be in any direction.
Yep. Then they can shift between one and another because they are manipulative. So they want to hang around, so they're like shapeshifters.
Yeah.
So if, like, for instance, I used to work in an inpatient eating disorder clinic for many years, and girls that would come in on the anorexia side, because they were forced to eat, start throwing up.
Yeah.
Or start trying to sneak in laxatives.
Right.
And so you just know that I think eating disorders is this huge umbrella and these fall under it.
And the behavior adapts to whatever your circumstances are, however you can control that.
However, it can still hang around.
But no matter what that is, whatever form it takes, it's still harmful and it's hurting you and it's killing you.
Yes.
Started with the laxative abuse, got real bad, and what actually stopped me, and I don't know how to actually think about this, because in one part of my brain, I'm like, this is really an unhealthy way to quit, but it still got me to quit. And now I'm in a place where I see it as what it was, because I'm healthier now, and I can see it as
you're out of it.
I don't know if I'm ever gonna be out of it. Like, I still struggle with thoughts every day about like food. Like, I get very guilty when I eat anything, but I have ways of telling myself, like, it's fine, like, you have, like, it's fuel, whatever. Like, I have strategies and tools to handle it, but it hasn't left. And I don't know, in your experience, does it ever leave?
Yes.
For some people, for everybody?
Not everybody's different.
Okay.
So, like, don't think that all the work you put in isn't, like, paying off. Because I think the thing that people don't realize is that it's almost like, I'll give this kind of, like, example.
Sure.
An analogy, I guess. So I used to always get strep throat forever and ever.
Yeah.
And then I got my tonsils out. But even if I get a cold, my throat always hurts first. That's my weak spot.
Interesting.
Okay? And I think of eating disorders as the same. Or, like, let's say we had panic attacks or self-injury. Okay. Whatever we struggled with, when things get really shitty and we get really stressed out.
That's the first thing that hurts.
That will come back. And,
okay.
But you'll have your tools to be like, thought, I'm not interested. Not today. Like, I did this video with Lindsay Sterling like a year ago maybe, and she was like, you're wearing a different hat, but I still know you're my eating disorder. You're in a different dress, but you're still the same one.
True.
Like, you put on a costume, but I still know who you are.
Oh my God, that's so helpful.
And I was like, that's what it is. And so you can be like, nope.
I love that analogy. And that makes a lot of sense, because I've been in, like, an emotionally turbulent place.
Yeah, and you've been working a lot.
Yeah, and it's winter. It's getting to winter.
And it's really dark and dreary out.
There's so many factors. But I guess that makes a lot of sense as to why that would be, like, where it keeps coming back to. Because there's long periods of time where, like, months at a time where I'm, like, totally okay. And then once in a while it's just like, hey, guess what? I'm here.
Hey, your old friend.
Right.
You're like,
No, stop calling me. I'm blocking your number.
Exactly.
What I was going to say then, and that I was, like, okay. So what actually got me to stop taking the laxatives was a surgery I was having. That was, and I don't really see it as cosmetic, I see it as reconstructive. It was related to my transition. It was a fat transfer surgery. In my head, I'm like, is it bad that a cosmetic surgery was my excuse to eat because I had to gain weight or else I wouldn't have fat to transfer? But it still worked.
If it worked and it wasn't unhealthy, it wasn't like you were binging?
No.
It sounds like maybe yes.
I mean, I think I still do. And the thing is, in my head, I don't know how to categorize binging, because
if you eat more, so in the DSM they'll say it's like more than what a normal person would eat in a normal amount of time. So it's varied. So I wouldn't say
like what is a normal person?
But I think I would say that you ate more than what would be considered a regular portion. You'd eat more than that in a short period of time. So like within an hour or less, you'd like eat as much as until you feel uncomfortably full.
Oh yeah, that's the thing is I always feel uncomfortably full. If I'm not uncomfortably full, I don't think I'm full.
Have you ever tried, and I'm just totally therapizing right now.
No, I'm good with that.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So I have my patients do 2 things. Okay. One, I have them check in on their emotionality scale. Meaning like 0 is like I'm dead. 10 is like I could crawl out of my skin. I'm so uncomfortable with my emotions.
Okay.
If you're feeling really emotional and really maxed out, really stressed, you might be up in like an 8 or maybe a 9. Okay. You know, it depends on you. But so rating that, and then rating your hunger fullness. And if you kept track, I'd be interested to see...
Like before and after?
Mm-hmm. Before you eat and after
eating. Yeah. Interesting. I think I should try that.
Yeah, because you can track it, and it's just numbers. Yeah. And you can kind of see, like, oh, when my emotional number is at 8 or above, I end up either overeating, undereating.
Right. Well, depending on what your circumstances are. Interesting. I think my trend that I eat when I'm lonely, and that's a lot. So, and I order in Uber Eats a lot, and usually they give like portions for like 2 people, or it's a large pizza for like 4 people. But to me, that's like 1 portion is whatever container they give me.
Is what you got, the food
right.
You got.
So I have to finish the whole thing, otherwise I didn't finish it. I don't know. It's weird.
We probably aren't. I don't know if you do, but most people don't usually think like I have to finish it. It's just like this.
Oh, I just keep going. Exactly. And then it's not that I like set a goalpost for myself. It's just that I find it difficult to stop.
When you're full, is that all you can think about?
That I've eaten.
That you're full.
Yeah.
That it's uncomfortable.
Because it's physically painful.
Yeah. Then it might be like you're numb out.
Yeah, and numb out. So okay, that's interesting. I don't know what exactly you mean by that, but I know that I tend to like replace people with food.
That's what I meant, like numb out. You're numbing out.
Numbing out the feelings. Exactly. That's exactly.
Loneliness or upset or anger or
100%.
Yeah.
But then it leads me to another place where I'm sitting there feeling angry at myself and physically in pain, and I'm like, oh my god, why did I do this? And then it's just like self-loathing.
Yeah, self-loathing.
So
which
it just
makes the pain more, which then
right. So I guess the eating disorder is a changing hat again. It's just like, oh, you're lonely, so eat. And now that you've eaten and you've satisfied that, now I'm gonna torment you with this feeling. Interesting.
And that's why it's always a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
And when people are like, well, I'm not sick enough.
That's such a common thing I hear from people.
Yeah, and it's like a con. Yeah. It's like eating disorder cons you because it's never happy. It only makes you unhappy.
Right. Somebody I know has consistently had this thing where, and it's not me. I know people say that to be like, oh, it's not me, it's for a friend. But like, hey, I've talked about my experiences. Yeah. This is not me. This is somebody else. They basically won't eat, and they'll drink like iced coffee or chocolate and milk. But I know milk is something that makes you a bit sick sometimes. So I think that's what's going there. They describe food as like they don't like food. And I don't know. I think that might just be like a lie that they tell people so that they can keep
themselves.
Control. Yeah,
I always think a lot of people when we're like, well, that's a lie. They're lying to themselves too.
Right, but they also say I've told them my experience, and I've said this is exactly what I said to people when they told me I was sick. They said I wasn't sick, right? And they're saying the exact same thing back to me, and I'm trying to get them to see that, but I also don't know if that's helpful.
You can't make someone want to get better.
I know. It's so frustrating.
It's really hard when you care about someone too. Because I think the thing that I'm always telling my viewers, the best thing we can do and the only thing we can do, check in.
Yeah.
Support. Okay. If they want to try to get help, we can offer like, hey, I'll drive you to that appointment, or I can wait with you if you're nervous. I'll wait.
But I can't help them see that they're sick.
No.
It's so hard to watch.
It's so hard. And it can be really hard and painful.
And it's triggering too.
Yeah.
For me, when I see somebody engaging that behavior, I'm like, oh, that's so easy. I can do that. Exactly.
But
and that's dangerous.
You know where it takes you.
I'm consciously aware of what that is and the problems it has, but it's, oh my god.
Do you journal?
No.
Well, videos maybe.
Yeah, I guess so. And I've talked about eating disorders in my videos too, so I guess that's very much the same.
It is kind of, I think it's the same. Okay. So I have some of my patients go back to like an older video where they were like in the shitty part. And if you want to engage in that behavior again, I encourage you to watch that video.
Oh my god.
Because you'll be like...
Yeah. When I go look at those videos, like I see physical unwellness and I see exhaustion and I see like
you can remember.
Oh yeah, I can feel the way my heart would beat through my skin.
Remember that, because I encourage when you're feeling a little like it's tough and the urges are back.
Yeah.
Watch an old video.
Okay.
I know that sounds like
I've tried that
but
before.
it keeps you kind of...
Yeah, it wakes you up to what exactly.
I don't like that.
No,
that's not me. I'm so much better.
Exactly. I'm better now. I'm healthier now. But it's tricky to see that when you have other mental issues that are like clouding you up.
Totally,
but I
think
depression. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's talk about where I'm at now. Like, I mean, I mentioned that I used to just like abuse laxatives, and I mentioned I had that anorexia bout, and now I'm in a place where I'm replacing people with food, and I'm binge eating a lot. But I think my main thing now, like the hat it wears, is that guilt. Last night, for example, I binge ate, and I sat there on my couch, and I just wanted to cry, and I fixated on a specific part of my body, and I was like, because I did this, that part of my body is going to become this, and like I tortured myself with that thought. What do you have like a suggestion for something I could do if I'm in that place? Because that seems to be what's coming at me the most in my most recent experiences. If I'm in that kind of a place, do you have a suggestion for what, like how I can like shift my thinking or to
like
see that?
Like snap out of that rumination?
Yeah. Is there anything you can offer in that regard?
Yeah, first of all, just anybody out there, we can't focus on any body part.
No.
So I'm not going to tell you to like shift to anything.
No.
Or to say positive things about that body part,
right,
because you're not going to believe it.
No, true.
So the best thing to do is to actually get up, change location.
Okay.
Like you can still be in your apartment, but like if you're sitting on the couch lamenting,
move to the bed. Okay.
Just move, and then I would encourage you to start writing about like 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for in your life.
In my life, not physical.
Not physical, not food related, not exercise related. Nothing related to that.
So shift the fixation from whatever the eating disorder is rooted in to the positive aspects of my life.
Correct.
Okay.
And then just distract.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, so I have my patients like paint their fingernails. That takes a really long time for them to dry. You don't want to touch them and mess them up.
True.
Do that. Do your makeup for fun. Since you're so great at like doing artistic things, and you can have fun with it. Play with a new palette.
For a video or something.
Put on a face mask. Take.
I play a lot of video games.
Perfect.
And that distracts the hell out of me.
Yep.
For like 90 hours a month.
Yeah. But so I would limit it to like 30 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Just
so it's not like unhealthy escapism.
Exactly. We want it to be a distraction. We don't want it to be an escape.
Okay.
So
that's a good distinction.
And then also like adding in, so do a good distraction like playing a video game, because it totally gets your mind off of it. And then I'd want you to, if you can, if it's safe, if you feel calmed down, I want you to write about what had happened earlier that day. And I only say that.
So what made me upset that caused the entire thing to like manifest, which wasn't the eating. It was something that made me want to eat in an unhealthy way. Okay, interesting.
And so then we learn. So like I think of therapy as like good detective work. We're like, what happened?
Wear the little hat and the trench coat. Okay. I like that. Yeah. Oh, okay.
And so then you can see what it is and what the triggers are, and you can do your best to manage them ahead of time, so that we're not lamenting and overeating
8 hours later, when you don't have full control over the situation anymore. Okay, wow, that was helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad. I'm happy to help.
Is there anything else you would like to say to my viewers before we depart?
I have a ton of videos about eating disorders, so if you have follow-up questions, I mean, it's my specialty. I've been on YouTube for 8 years and actually started as an eating disorder channel.
Wow.
That was like all it was. They're super awkward, but they're there, those old videos.
I'm going to go watch from the beginning.
But yeah, if you have any questions, that's probably the best way to find the answers.
Okay, great.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my God, my pleasure. So go check out Katie's channel. I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you again soon. Until next time, just remember, you can take the power back. It is your life. You can have control. I don't know. You can do it.
got this.
You got this. Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.